Hey guys, welcome back to the Drop-In and Surf Show. My name is Rob Case. I am a paddling technique coach, and my co-host Jim Sigelnik is a doctor of physical therapy. And this show is all about math and science and surfing. And today's episode is part 2 of our conversation with Clayton Nienaber, surf coach, surfboard shaper, former QS surfer, and just all-around awesome guy. Fantastic human being. And in part 1, he dropped tons of knowledge and information. If you haven't seen that, stop this video, go back and watch part 1. And if you have watched it, please enjoy part 2 today. If you have any questions whatsoever, we are only an email away.
Clayton, what do you think? Well, I guess number one, do you think being racing out in the flats, missing the power source of the wave is one of the more common mistakes that you see? And if so, what's a common kind of aha moment that you see with surfers to kind of correct that? Like, is it going to the bodyboard? Is it watching footage? Is it verbal cues? What seems to be a common thing that you see to make that thing click for surfers?
You mean the fix for it? Okay, the fix is so easy, but I'm going to tell you why people do it. So built into us is, and this is back from the caveman days, if you saw a big saber-toothed lion walk into your, your surrounding, what are the 3 things that may happen? 1, you might freeze. 2nd, you might run. 3rd, you're going to grab a spear and hopefully go and kill it and have a good fur pelt for winter. So those 3 reactions, the flight, fight, and freeze reactions are still with us today. So most people stand up and just run. Okay, very few people stand up and actually fight the lip and hit the lip, bang. Some people freeze and just go with falls. So it's becoming comfortable and knowing what you can do. So the best thing that you can do is when you paddle into the wave, arch your back, gliding, and just breathe. Just take your first breath, slow down, and then try to pick the best way down that wave, like a skateboarder dropping into a ramp. You never see skateboarders go halfway down a ramp and start trying to tic-tac.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they go all the way down. So be a lazy surfer. Try to use the wave's energy rather than your energy. Okay, when you use the wave's energy, you start to get a feeling for what the wave wants. So stop trying to enforce your will on the wave and work with the wave. So when you top turn, the wave throws. So there's energy coming down from that lip. There's gravity. So turn with it rather than trying to hit it and stop. So if you turn with it, you're going to double the amount of energy that you have. So what's that martial arts for? Is it Krav Maga or something like that, where you use your opponent's energy to beat them? So it's kind of like this wave's got all this energy. Use that energy to surf.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like
Did I answer
that.
your question there? I don't even know what the question was again. I go
that was
on
good.
rants and I get lost like on tangents. You got to reel me in.
No,
Redirect.
you're in good company. We do that too.
Yeah, no, Clayton, that was great. I think what I really enjoy is, Rob and I have talked a bit about this, verbal cues and simple things that are the catalyst for doing something complicated. I love your cue of right before you pop up, just breathe, slow it down, you know. I'll speak for myself. I mean, oftentimes I feel like I'm in a rush, and, you know, I end up on the shoulder all the time, you know, and then you go to turn and it bogs and you're like, well, you know, and then you can surf the same wave and then it just clicks. And I think the difference is just kind of like, yeah, like you said, if it's your headspace beforehand sometimes, but I like that.
I've surfed so many heats that I've lost. It's scary, but the amount of good waves I caught and absolutely blitzed when I did lose and the siren went, that wave, as soon as the siren goes and the pressure's gone, I surf so good after that siren goes off. It's crazy. Because I've stopped caring. It's like I've lost. I'm just going to just surf this wave to the beach. I don't care. Just boom, boom. And like my parents would be watching going, why don't you just do that in the heat? I'm like, what do you mean? Do what? I'm just angry or just stop caring. It's so harsh surfing. Try too hard, you don't get it.
Yeah, and it's socially harsh too. With you're always trying to hit the lip as hard as you can so your friends can be like, oh dude, that was epic, right? But you're actually doing the opposite. You're making it worse and you're actually looking terrible. And now your friends are going to make fun of you for that.
Yeah.
I love that part in your course where you do talk about social fear and psychological fear as separate. And we talk about the biosocial, psychosocial model all the time. And I love that you've incorporated that into your training. I wanted to ask a question that actually related to Jim's, because I always found myself out in the flats, and what I found, and maybe the question is, do you see a difference between surfers that grew up on point breaks versus beach breaks in that ability to calm, be relaxed, trust that the wave isn't going to close out? Because where Jim and I surf, it's basically you are 90% of the time rushing to the end, when in reality we should really slow down to surf it much better, in essence.
So if you have a look at what's been happening on the WCT over the last 10 years, you've got surfers coming out of Brazil with fast twitch muscle memory, because they're surfing small, short, quick, horrible waves. So they've got to do stuff really, really fast. But then whenever those surfers went and surfed, say, J Bay, they looked terrible.
Yeah.
Because the timing's off. They look like they're dancing, I don't know, what's it called? Like break dance to Beethoven. It just like they didn't gel. Okay. But it's so much easier for someone with a fast twitch muscle to slow down than it is for someone with like slow muscle to try speed up. So what's actually happened is, as the Brazilians have started traveling more and started to become more comfortable and started to tap into the power and slow down, because they have so many good, like you go to Australia and go to Burley Heads, like there'll be Aki out there, or you got to snap out a point break, and there's good waves. There's good role models to have a look at and how to slow down and the lines to draw. So that's what they've done. They've come to a sport with the fast twitch muscle memory and learned how to draw good, clean lines. But then it's really hard for a Hawaiian growing up in power to go to an event in Japan where it's knee-high, because you don't feel the power, you don't feel motivated, and you just want to go back home. So it's easy for the Brazilians then to arrive as a storm of enthusiastic, fast twitch muscle memory surfers who can do both.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you look at Felipe Toledo from when he first came on to now. There was a year, maybe 2 years ago or a year ago, where his rail surfing completely changed. It was, he surfed better at Bells and at J-Bay. I mean, it was incredible.
So can we say the fastest surfer in the world learned to slow down?
Yeah, totally, 100%. Yeah.
So where did surfers as a whole go so wrong?
Our egos.
Surf faster, push on your back foot, get these new FCS fins. They're going to help you surf on rail more. So if you're on rail, you don't need fins.
Yeah, that's right.
Bodyboarders don't need fins. Wakeboarders don't need fins. Snowboarders don't use fins.
Yeah.
There's a whole revolution now of finless surfers who are killing it. And they got way better style than the surfers with fins. Because you have to have those knees point forward, the hands up, the good compression, extension. So yeah, all those guys surfing with fins, all surfing a hell of a lot flatter.
Yeah.
Well, some of it's like marketing, I would think. I mean, I'm an average surfer at best, and it's like, I started surfing in the, early mid 90s, and volume wasn't even discussed. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden volume came on, and whatever that was, 2003 or 4 or something like that. And it was like, next thing you know, all these average surfers in my local lineup are like, oh, I'm 27 and a half. Oh, I think I need to go up a liter, 28.5. And I think something that's really resonated with what you're saying is it's like, maybe if we're splitting hairs with a liter and a half, and you're still racing down the line, maybe some of the focus should shift to the way you're reading the wave and kind of using that rail, kind of going back to the pocket like you're describing.
Okay, so let's look at bicycles. You have something that Lance Armstrong would ride with really tall wheel that's thin and narrow, and then something that, say, a mountain biker would ride, which has got like really wide with knobblies on, and then someone who just rides to work would be maybe a bit more of a smoother tire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't know how much air is in the tire, but when Lance puts his bike on to the rail, it reacts so much faster.
Mm-hmm.
The little lady riding to work on her bicycle with the soft, smooth tires is gently leaning through the turns.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy who's riding the mountain bike, he just wants hold. Okay, so now if you compare that to surfboards, like what kind of rail does your board have? So the underneath, if you've got a very acute angle, your board's going to turn quicker. If you've got a very rolled angle, your board's going to be smooth but slow.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's, when you lean over the rail, do you lean abruptly and hard that you need a fuller rail so that you don't catch rail?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you hardly lean at all that you need a low rail that when you gently lean, it actually does half the turn for you, it dips into the turn easier?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So as a shaper, you almost need footage. How's my guy bottom turning, so I know what rail thickness to give him?
Yeah.
Does he need this? What kind of tuck under does he need on that rail?
Mm.
So anyone who goes and buys a board off the rack, it's tough. It's almost like buying a wife online. Like you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's been your best metaphor yet.
I told you I'm a freak. I'm sorry.
I love it.
No. Well, some of those online wives look pretty good.
Yeah, they feel good under the arm until you get into the water and you want it to perform, and it's like, no. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool, Clayton. So do you make that recommendation for your board buyers? Like, if I order a board from you, will you say, "Hey, let me see footage of you surfing," and then you're able to kind of like go and tweak that and make something more specific to me?
Yeah, so it's again, I give them analogies. Damn it, I've got so many stupid analogies.
No, you're good, man.
All right, so if I went to you and said, okay, paint me a picture of a flower, and I didn't tell you what kind of flower, so I've got a picture of a flower in my head, and I bet you do too right now. So mine was a yellow rose. Okay, now imagine if you go to me and go, hey, Clay, you're the shaper, make me a 6'2".
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, here's your yellow rose.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, this board sucks. What were you expecting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not a yellow rose.
Well, why don't you tell me? Why don't you give me right feedback? Now, the problem is the surfer can't say what he feels.
Right.
Okay, because like the analogies that they're using, if you had told me when I'm riding fast and I try to lean, I'm catching rail. Easy, okay, well, let's pull the rail up a little bit. We'll solve that issue. Or maybe the tuck under's too harsh and it's bearing too fast and it's rolling over too quickly. I'm going, okay, let's soften that tuck under so that it's a bit more smooth and a bit more gentle. Problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that feedback. It's like, oh, this board sucks.
Interesting.
All right.
Well, that reminds me of the story of how you became a surf coach. Was that exact thing happened, didn't it? Where you gave a guy a board and he's like, this board sucks.
Yeah. So you got to know that when you're hand shaping, it's taken you years to make a good board, and it's trial and error. So you try to remember the good stuff and put that into every board. And you make yourself a board, it goes good. You take that and you just kind of resize it, but the same principles goes into your customer's board. So when they come back and go, it sucks, you go, oh, okay, maybe I did something wrong. Okay, it's possible, human error. Where does it suck? He can't tell you. How does it suck? He can't tell you. Okay, let's go to the beach. I'll watch you surf. So you get in the car, you drive down to the beach, and he stands up, and he's just got his back bent, and he's patting the cat with the hand, and he's surfing flat, and so it's just like, mate, okay, fix your body. A bottom turn is more like riding a bicycle. Do it gently, do it softer, and you just give them the basics. And then the guy came back 2 months later and said, hey, best board ever. So
interesting.
Yeah, when you tell people how to surf and then they do it, they go, oh, it's easy. Because they have no idea of the concept. They're just doing stuff. They don't know how the wave works. They don't know how the board works. They don't know what they're supposed to do. The body's just doing random shit out there. It's just, it's difficult. Yeah.
Man, I think if you made me a board and I said that sucks and you said I'm gonna drive to the beach and watch you surf it, I'd probably say, okay, I'll meet you there, and I'd just go to Mexico. I'll never see you again. I'd be so embarrassed, man. No, that's cool, man. I like that.
Okay. Have you heard what dippy is?
Dippy?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So it's something that we got in our course, and we're going to be launching it in Mind Surfer. So I've been speaking to a psychologist called Kim Bancroft, and she's been amazing. So dippy, the first thing stands for danger, then what's important, then what's pleasurable, and then what's interesting. So as a surf coach, you viewed me as danger, which is more of a social threat.
Yeah.
And you want to run away from me. Now, a lot of surf coaches, and me included, I'm 100% guilty of this. That sometimes I try too hard out of frustration, and the surfer focuses like, oh, I don't want to upset Clayton, and they can't surf because they view me as a threat.
Yeah.
But once you get rid of the danger part, you can focus on what's important. So maybe looking where I want to go and just coordinating my body there. Generally, if you do that, you're going to feel something pleasurable. Okay, and if it feels good, you're going to be looking around on the wave to like, oh, what if I do it there? How's that going to feel? What if I do it here? How's that going to feel?
Yeah.
And then you're focusing on what's interesting. And that's pretty much how that whole cycle works. But the default for danger always kicks in first. So if you're uncomfortable, you're not going to be able to surf. You're going to run away from it.
Yeah.
You're going to freeze, or hopefully you'll stand up and fight, and that's what we want. We all want to be that Mick Fanning.
That's interesting. Rob and I talked a little bit about this. It's almost like that social fear, or the fear of disappointing is it can be a potential hang up to you making true learning and good change.
That's where I like coaching kids, because they don't have that social fear yet, and they're having fun, and they're falling, but they have fun. Now, as we get older, we don't want to fall, which means we don't learn. So only when you make a mistake can you learn from it. But if you're not making any mistakes, you're just going to plateau out and then eventually get worse. Now, the thing with surfing is, let's say, and this is something we're going to address in Amanzi again, we call it a wave of progression. So you start off as a beginner and you go up the small wave, but then you want to get to the intermediate level. So you start changing your equipment and you start sucking. And then you want to ride a more difficult wave and you start sucking. So you get to the top of your beginner level, but then you get worse. But then you got to make mistakes and learn, and then you start rising up. And then you start getting to maybe a slightly better intermediate, but then you want to learn how to barrel ride, and you start getting hammered and you're having bad wipeouts, and you've got to change your equipment. You've got to go through this negative learning period of falling, making mistakes. Now, so many people get hung up on that negative learning period that they just want to, they go back to maybe riding bigger boards because, I wasn't falling, but they plateau out and they never progress from the top of beginner or the top of intermediate because psychologically they can't deal with the learning process of it all.
Yeah, we all suffer from that to some degree. I know we've talked also about having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Fixed being, I can't make that mistake. I always have to look good, which is very common at our local spot. And a growth mindset, which is the complete opposite. It's like, hey man, I'm in the middle. I'm a kid again. I shouldn't care about what's happening around me. I'm going to try something. I got the set wave of the day. And I'm going to try to look for a different part of the wave to do this on. And if I fall and I mess it up, everyone's going to look at me going, well, he's not getting the next set wave, but at least I've learned. And having that growth mindset and that intrinsic value of going for it, sending it, and learning.
So that's why I encourage surfing on onshore, just because just focus on not on a good wave, but on a good section.
Yeah.
Just do something in fall, do it in fall, do it in fall. So onshores are blessings.
Absolutely.
That's cool, Clayton.
You know, another thing that goes back to something we were talking about earlier was finless surfing. And I was actually really surprised to see this, that you're prescribing people to go out on their regular shortboards without fins. And I found that awesome because I always thought a finless board had to be designed a certain way for it to work. But you're essentially saying, hey, listen, you're going to learn to ride this thing without fins. So you learn where the power sources are, how to have the correct angle of the board when you do put it on a rail to find that power.
So pretty much the flatter the board is in a finless, the more control you get, the more rocker your board just wants to spin. But where the finless board helps is in paddling in. You got to use your body as a rudder. You got to like arch your back, look where you want to go, and
You got to roll.
kind of like have your intention.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, how do you ride a bicycle not using your hands, without your hands in the steering wheel?
Yeah.
You got to sit up straight. You can still lean.
Yeah.
You can turn and you can manipulate it. So it's almost like it's a similar thing. So I'm trying to get you to move your body to influence the board and stop surfing flat and relying on the fins, because that's not teaching you anything. That's making you a lazy surfer that's going to plateau out.
That's really cool, Clayton.
Another metaphor, sorry.
Yeah. No,
I like them. They're good.
Next time, Jim and I can actually go out in the world without smoke and ruining our lungs. We're going to be riding finless, riding bodyboards, taking off on every wave whatsoever. Yeah.
It's so much fun. You can surf, honestly, knee-high little closeouts, finless, and you'll smile so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. And that's what it is. It's because then you don't mind falling. Like you're just being a kid again. You're learning. There's no expectation, and when you nail it, there's this magical feeling like where you got it. It's just like, this is it. Here we go.
Well, and the funny thing about Jim and I is that we're already the weird ones at our local break, so it won't be anything different.
You can't call someone having fun weird.
At our break we can, but we're having a blast. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're changing minds and you're changing lives. So imagine if everyone in the lineup did that.
It'd be fun.
Okay, so it's your. There's a little game that when you're on the boat trips, it's called reversey. So there's like these little black tiles and white tiles, and you got to change all your opponents to white, and he's got to change all yours to black. And like the person who changes all the tiles wins. So it's my job in the water to try and make everyone smile and have fun. I want to change that negative mindset and just replace it with a fun mindset.
Yeah. Well, we're this day and age, and you know this, Clayton. It's like there's probably never been a more accepted time in recreational surfing where all boards are like welcome or accepted. So people seem to be riding all sorts of alternative things like twins, single fins, finless, whatever it might be, to the performance board. How much of that is okay in your mind for progression, and how much of it might distract from the fundamentals of rail-to-rail surfing? Or is there a purpose for riding a mid-length to teach you something about surfing?
So I read a quote about Al Merrick forcing his team riders to ride longer boards. It teaches you how to turn properly, and it teaches you about the correct turning circle that you've got to do that turn in. You can't rush a turn on a bigger board. So love those sentiments. By riding a mid-length, you've got to put it on rail for longer. You can't force your turn. I think a lot of guys are making the mistakes of going too short, too wide, and too flat, and it makes them stand on the board and do these like wheelie turns, and they feel the board slide out, and they think they're killing it because the tail released a little bit. And I almost want to like fine some shapers for doing that, but it's again whatever sells, like those potato things. You can't put on rail. There's no ways you can displace that much water, so the board just keeps going flat, and the guy gets length of ride. The bodies are going everywhere, but they're not doing any turns, and they think they killed it. And yes, they've ridden for, I don't know, 100 meters, but they've done nothing except look ugly. like, why do that?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's a good thought, I think.
Yeah, I think, Clayton, you were the first coach that I spoke to that really prescribed keeping your mindset around progression with a short board, meaning the short board's meant to turn. And instead of, a lot of coaches are like, get on a long board to learn how to turn. But you were the first one that really opened my eyes and said, hey, listen, that's one approach, but if you really want to turn, get on a board that's supposed to turn and just do it the correct way.
Yeah. So those short, fat, wide boards, if your rail's really fat, you got to try to push that underwater, and it's going to want to keep popping up like cork.
Yeah.
It doesn't want to turn. So now the crazy thing about it is it's really short, which means it's got a great turning circle. If only you could get the damn thing to roll onto the rail.
Yeah.
You can't. So what happens is the tail's release, and you think you're killing it, but you've just done a flat slide.
Sliding, yeah.
Yeah, it's like riding a bicycle and you skid. That was a sick turn.
Yeah.
I made a mark.
Exactly. Look at my spray.
I'm gonna look at my spray.
Don't. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Clayton, it's reassuring to know that, like, before you rode Kelly's board and kind of struggled yourself, you had been somewhat successful leading up to that point. So,
I'm so guilty. Yeah, Jim, if I hadn't have done that, I probably would have been making tons of potatoes myself for everyone.
Yeah,
I would have been leading that charge. Let's go, everyone, get a potato.
Yeah, it's just interesting because those boards are becoming more and more popular. And I mean, maybe you could speak more to this, but like I remember whatever it was, 2005 or 6, Kelly Slater, he rode, I think, a wizard sleeve, and which is like a really short Channel Islands, and he rode it at like 20-foot plus faces Toto Santos. And then from there, he competed after, I think it was in maybe the Pipeline Masters, where he won on a 5.9. And then from there, every surfboard manufacturer was making these wide point forward, thicker, wider surfboards. So it's almost like this cultural kind of thing that's like, you know, as an average surfer, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like Kelly pushed that, so that's what we all ride. And then from there, it was like the K smalls, which led to the baked potato lineage. The boards just got shorter, wider, because maybe average surfers like me were like getting encouraged through marketing or whatever it might be to ride those boards.
Okay, so why do you put training wheels on a kid's bicycle? He's learning how to ride.
Right.
Okay, because you want them to learn balance. You kind of want them to be comfortable with being on their bicycle.
Right.
All right. But when you take the wheels off, because those wheels could have been stuck on skew, so they end up riding the bicycle like this.
Yeah.
So they don't actually learn any balance.
Yeah.
They just learn bad habits.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you've seen those bicycles with no pedals, where the kids just use the feet, they can twist and they can lean.
Yeah.
So those are the smart ones. They can control their speed. So it's learning how to lean and it's learning how to twist. It's learning how to do both those types of turns.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you take someone with not a high skill level who's been riding a long board, now the longer the board is, the easier it is to catch waves, because the swell gets to you early, it lifts, and then you know that you're in, you've got more time to stand up, whereas a short board, it gets here late and it's an abrupt takeoff. So longer boards allow you to catch waves easier, thicker boards allow you to paddle easier. So if you don't have the paddle muscle because you're new to surfing, you want a thicker board. And then the width gives you stability and allows you to stand up. Mm-hmm. So you can experience a ride. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to turning, all of those things work against you. The length's not good, the width's not good, and the thickness is not good. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they don't allow you to surf in the critical part of the wave joining any of those dots. Mm-hmm. Now, those people with poor body control want to feel more, so they just get a shorter board because everyone tells them, oh, go shorter, but they end up going wider, which doesn't allow them any turning, and they end up going thicker because it's shorter. They're trying to keep the volume. Again, it doesn't allow them any control over a board.
Interesting.
So inevitably what they've done is they've almost sabotaged their surfing career. Mm. Like you'd never go to a skate ramp and try drop in on one of those old school long Sector 9 skateboards. Why?
It's the transition's too tight. Yeah.
Okay. So then why don't we just take that Sector 9 and make it really wide? Okay, keep it flat still, but make it wide and go thicker. So your skateboard deck's no more like, 9 mils. We just go thicker, but we went wider.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, now I drop into that skate ramp.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How's it? So what's wrong with the amount of control that they've got?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of where my head's at a bit.
Makes sense.
Like I do agree, if you're riding horrible, weak, small waves, you need a board that planes better, and you don't want rocker. And then if you're going really slow, you need some more width, because the width will give you more stability so that the board just doesn't wobble and sink. So there's a time and a place for those waves, a time and a place for those boards. Mm-hmm. But it's not every day, every surf.
Sure.
It's when it's gutless and you're desperate.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to go surf at the Great Lakes in Canada, maybe you'll take something like that. Yeah. High volume, really wide, because there's no power, there's no real pocket, it's wind swell. You need those boards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
Hey man, one more question. I don't want to take up your whole day, but what would you say has given you the most joy as a surf coach?
Just seeing the lights come on, whether it's showing someone how to paddle for a wave effortlessly, just like 2 strokes and they glide in. Like, oh, it's so much easier than slapping water and making bubbles. Or someone doing a bottom turn and leading for the first time and they just crack the lip because it was effortless. Like in your career of surfing, you would have had a light bulb moment where you figured something out. I enjoy handing over those light bulb moments to people and then seeing what they can do with them. It's rewarding.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it reminds me of the feeling that you got getting your first wave. Whenever that light bulb moment happens for my clients, that's what it feels like to me. Is what you're describing. To me, it feels like that first moment I surfed, and I get to do it over and over again through everybody else. So that's cool, man. I'll tell you, you've given me a bunch of those aha moments, and I think your program's awesome. So
thanks.
I'm just gonna promote it lightly. I don't want to force it. I just want, we've learned to not force things. But it's Amanzi, is it AMANZI surf.com, right?
So I'm living in Australia now, but I grew up in South Africa, and amanzi means water in Zulu. So I thought I'd keep a little bit of some sort of heritage while I'm over here. That and the fact that I couldn't get a domain name. Everything's been sold out and taken. You can't get like surfcoach.com or anything. So I was just like, damn it, everything's gone. So I just figured, okay, amanzi would be cool. So yeah, it's amanzisurf.com.
Cool. That's awesome, man.
And then Clayton, tell people if how they get a hold of you if they want to buy a board, and how would they go about doing that?
So because I've been concentrating so much on the coaching, I've actually let my surfboard website kind of lapse a little bit, and it's really old. It's not to say that I don't shape. I make a new board for myself almost every 2 weeks. I'm just trying out new ideas. But I've yet to get it photographed and put it on the website and do write-ups and like it's just a bit of a pain in the ass now. I haven't done it. But you could probably hit me up on amanzi. I almost don't want to make you a board unless I've seen you surf.
Yeah.
I want to see a photo of you surfing. I want to know what you do ride. I want to know what you hate about that board and what you love about the board. I need to know, is it a full rail, thin rail, fat rail? I want to go on a journey when I make you a board. I don't just, otherwise you might as well get a stock board from someone else.
Yeah.
And we'll probably, I want you to ride other boards and give you feedback and compare it. It's not just about the board. It's, if you make a board for someone once, you never see them again. It's the same as coaching. I don't want to do one session with you because it's not like a quick fix. It's like a layer of the onion. You peel one off and there's something else. You peel that off and there's something else. So the first board I make you, might be not what you want, but what you need. And then as your surfing improves, because you're moving your body better, then slowly you start getting more to what you want. So that was a really weird answer, but yeah, it's an answer regardless.
No, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, you're one of the few surfboard shapers I've heard talk like that. Like, I want to see you surf. I want you to give me feedback so I can take this journey with you. And it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it's like that Russian bride buy online catalog thing. Like, you want to at least Skype her and have a chat before she arrives. Yeah, so it's almost like when I make myself a board, I know how it goes before I surf it. And if it doesn't do that, I get rid of it because it wasn't what I was looking for. So whenever I make a change to the board, it's because I want to feel like X in it. So yeah, that's like, I'll ride a wave and go, oh, my board's feeling like this. If I make such and such a change, it's going to give me that. And I might do 6 boards until I feel that. But when I get it right, I'm like, oh, okay, this is good. Then we can maybe make that a model or something. So
cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clayton, you're the only shaper coach combination that I know, and I think that
no, you can't say that.
Well,
Merrick coached his.
All right. That I personally know, I should say.
Oh, sorry. All right. So,
and Al's not going to pick up my phone call. No, but I think it's a beautiful relationship when you have that, and you're spot on that it shouldn't be a one and done kind of relationship between shaper and surfer, no matter what level you're at. So,
hey, a shaper's just a person. They make wrong calls sometimes. Unfortunately, because you're buying a board, it's an expensive lesson. But it's the same way if you're learning how to surf doing a new move, you may do it wrong. But the next time they might get it really, really right for you. So as opposed to, say, getting a stocky off the shelf where you're making a call with not a lot of knowledge. So to have a relationship with this shaper, but to actually to allow both sides to make a couple mistakes, getting it right. When you do have it right, you've got a formula that will serve you going forward for a long, long time.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and
no worries, Rob. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, Clayton, thanks a lot for talking with us, man. It was a pleasure.
That was fantastic.
Cool,
guys.
Same here.
All right, I'll close out right now, and we'll see you later.
Thank you, Clayton.
Perfect. Ciao.
See you guys.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching and listening in. I did make a slight mistake in the last, in part 1. This podcast was recorded on Saturday, September 12th, 2020, not Saturday, September 13th, 2020, which doesn't exist. But with that being said, I really do hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please get a hold of us, either myself, Rob at surfingpaddling.com, or Jim at, if you go to saltypt.com, you can contact Jim. And if you're interested in the Amanzi program, please get a hold of Clayton and get on that. I highly advise it. It is a great program that will improve your surfing. Until we speak again, we'll see you in the water.